Big story of the day, guys. Obviously, heavy there in Michigan. Head football coach Sherrone Moore has been fired with cause by the university after an investigation showed that he had an improper relationship with a staff member. Details still coming out. We're trying to get as much as we can. But a few hours after that story came out, it was reported that Moore was detained by police in Michigan and later turned over to a second area police department for doing something he probably shouldn't have done. And that's all we're going to say because we're still getting more information. And it's not looking good there in Michigan. But in order to spin the conversation forward, because if you missed the first conversation about the act itself and what that means for the collegiate there, for the college in Michigan and college in general, check out the podcast. We'll have it all up there in a minute. But moving forward now, Michigan has an interim head football coach. Nobody really expects him to get the full-time gig. Who knows if they'll have a new head coach for this upcoming season. But the plan is eventually, Michigan being Michigan, they're going to get a very, very prominent name at some point here in the future. Which here brings to the next question, guys. Michigan is one of the bigger brands in all of football. Not just in college, but in football, period. Big brand, big expectations. The problem is they don't really win all that big. They've only won 2 national championships.
Since?
Moby Dick was a guppy.
Exactly.
Look at you.
So here's the question I ask you guys. Now that Sherrone Moore is out of town, they have an interim coach. They'll be looking for the next hot name here relatively quickly. Is the head football coach at the University of Michigan still a plum job in your opinion?
And Kelvin, as you know, being a columnist and a TV guy and radio guy in Detroit for 20 years, I had 2 sides to Michigan because I always thought that's so crazy. As big as Michigan football is, and the tradition, and Bo Schembechler's a statue. He never even won a national championship, and he's revered in Michigan. And it was still about the Big Ten and beating Ohio State, mad at Moore, because they didn't win national championships. They really didn't. And as much as I push back against that, I will defend that Michigan is a blue blood and one of the pieces of the fabric of college football, from the winged helmet to the big house to all the stuff the maize and blue, all the stuff that goes into it. I don't think they've won enough, or you know what I mean, or it should be celebrated, or they're Alabama or some of these other schools that have won a ton of championships compared to Michigan. But I can't discount or poo-poo the Michigan football job or their tradition and their place with the blue bloods of college football. I do believe that Michigan is in the same conversation with Alabama and USC and, and these kind of schools and Notre Dame and all that. Those are the schools that are the fabric of college football.
I absolutely 1,000% agree. A couple of reasons why. We talk about
Rob
the national
G doesn't think it's anything.
Yeah, we'll hear his side. It's craziness.
We want to hear from you, though.
You're right that they didn't win a bunch of national championships, but I think one thing we disregard now because everything's about the BCS, the intern college football playoffs. Winning a bowl used to be huge. The Rose Bowl was huge. Like, that was a massive deal. Sugar Bowls were massive deals. All these bowl games. So for years, if Michigan would win and you win the Big Ten, and then you come over here and you play the West Coast and you play USC or UCLA or some team in Washington from the Pac-12 in the Rose Bowl, that was a big deal. So to have that brand on a massive day when everybody's watching college football and you're seeing that maize and blue, they're playing Hail to the Victors, you know what I mean? And it's Michigan. That created a huge, massive brand. Having some Heisman Trophy winners as well, Desmond Howard, Charles Woodson, so that adds to the lure as well. I absolutely believe it's a great gig. It's a great city. Obviously, I'm biased. I'm born and raised there. Even for somebody from New York who didn't grow up with college football, like I'm not blind. It's a great feel.
Right.
It is a big deal. So I think as of the last 25, 30 years, you start to get more of the, these other couple of schools that start to pop up. Clemson's popped up over the last 15 years or so. Florida State in the 90s, Miami in the late 80s and the 90s. But throughout those 60s, 70s, 80s, and even 90s, Michigan became a really big deal. And I agree. 8-4 was kind of regular when I was growing up there. 9-3 was okay.
They lost to Appalachian State.
Yeah, don't bring
come
that.
On,
why you come on, man? Why you got to go there? That was in Rich Rod era. Rich Rodriguez.
No, that wasn't Rich.
That was Rich. That wasn't Rich.
No,
Brady Hoke. Brady. Yeah, Brady.
No. Before that, why am I? Martin.
Was that Lloyd?
Lloyd Carr.
Lloyd Carr.
That was the beginning.
That was the end.
That was
beginning of the end.
Beginning of the end for Lloyd Carr when they lost that game.
Man, that was crazy.
I remember when Brady Hoke was there. His nickname was Brady Joke.
Yeah,
it was bad.
It was bad for a little while there. But so that is the dirty secret. I will agree that Michigan hasn't won quite like you thought, but I still think it's a powerhouse, and I still think it's a massive job, a massive get, and a great opportunity.
The other thing about Michigan, like I agree, it's 100% true. If you lost, like Lloyd Carr, you lose 2 games and beat Ohio State every so often, they'll build a statue for you.
Yeah.
You're good to go. Same thing with, if we're really being honest, Jim Harbaugh.
Yeah, 100%.
It was ugly before COVID.
Remember, Jim Harbaugh had to take a pay cut at Michigan.
I remember vividly. But the thing about it is, in this day and age, with NIL money, Michigan, in terms of what makes a competitive college football program today, in a world where Indiana is the number 1 team in the nation, there's no excuse. And honestly, like last year was ridiculous that a program like Michigan should have a quarterback.
Now, I completely agree. Jim Harbaugh created that we don't need a quarterback thing. We just run and play defense. And now because remember, Michigan was quarterback U for a long time. They were putting a lot of guys in. I'm not saying they were all great, but they were putting them in the league. Chad Henne, Brian Griese, obviously Tom Brady, Drew Henson. They were putting some guys. I'm probably missing 2 or 3 more. They were putting guys in the league, quarterback. Then for some reason, they just forgot about quarterbacks.
If Michigan can spend $10 million on Bryce Underwood, there will be a high-level coach at the University of Michigan in short order.
Oh, no doubt. Rob G,
what's your pushback on this?
His pushback is that Michigan is garbage, trash, right?
Rob,
what?
There's always some nuance to everything, but no, they're the Hall of Fame or he sucks. There's no middle ground.
No. I'm either all the way right or all the way
exactly. Right. And everything you guys said is accurate, all 3 of you, about Michigan and what it means there. And for all of those reasons why I believe that it is not that great of a job, because you have all of this tradition and all this NIL money and everybody's always excited about Michigan. And, if you win Ohio State, you're the best thing since sliced bread. But if you lose, then we got to get you up out of there. Or there's a lot of pressure building around the community. Michigan carries themselves like they're Alabama, like they're Notre Dame, like they're Ohio State, and they're not. They don't win.
Yeah, you're right. Notre Dame hasn't won. Michigan has won more recently than Notre Dame. So but you're talking about Michigan carries like Alabama and Georgia, of the last 20 years.
Yeah.
No?
So here are the 4 big jobs that were available this past offseason in college football: Penn State, Michigan, LSU. Well, Michigan now, LSU, and Florida. Since 2000, Penn State has won 3 Big Ten championships. Michigan has won 4 Big Ten championships. Since 2000, LSU has won 3 national championships. Michigan has won 1. Florida, since 2000, has won 2 national championships. Michigan has won 1. You can get all the money, all the NIL money, all the pop and circumstance that comes with being the big dog at Michigan somewhere else without having to deal with the pressure that comes from being at Michigan. You can be Billy Napier in Florida, make a gang of money, have all the same access, and not have to worry about, hey, if I go 8-4 and I lose to Florida State, it's not the end of the world. Michigan has this idea that they should be in the mix every single year, and they're just not. So why do you want to sign up for that kind of outsized pressure?
I don't think Michigan. I think the dirty secret is they don't expect it like that. I think they 9-3. They're quietly like, all right, we're good. And again, if every other year we beat Michigan or Ohio State. All right. And by the way, what you just read was good. If you just go back 3 more years, then they have 2 like Florida. I mean, if you go from 97 to now, they got 2 like Florida. You know what I mean? Which they'll be behind LSU by 1.
So is it a better job than Penn State?
Yes. I agree.
Absolutely.
Is it a better job than Florida?
Yes.
Is it a better job than LSU?
No. Not now.
No.
Here's the thing: if you recruit LSU, if you just recruit the state of Louisiana, you're going to win 10 games in the SEC.
Right.
That's the thing that Michigan doesn't have.
Right, they got enough players coming out of that state alone, and they all want to play at home. You know, like they're not trying to go somewhere They don't have to go somewhere.
Like that's the drawback of the University of Michigan is you got to recruit Ohio, you got to recruit the South. You can't just recruit the state of Michigan.
Nope.
But in terms of the
Georgia
finances, the
Florida,
resources, and to the point, all you got to do is really truly beat Michigan State, compete against Ohio State, and if you drop a random game to Indiana in November, everybody will be fine with it because the other dirty secret is there's no chance a 10-2 Michigan is getting left out of anything in college football.
100%.
That's why Notre Dame's so upset right now because they're just not supposed to get left out.
Yep.
All right,
Michigan doesn't. Sorry, Rob.
All right, Rob, so they're watching us right now, which means another thing they can do is what?
They can subscribe. All you got to do is hit that button, subscribe to The Odd Couple for some of the best sports talk content in the nation.
Facts, and while you're at it, they can like, they can comment, they can share. Do all that for us. We appreciate it. Just do all that right up in here.